Hi everyone and welcome to another video from Experiencing IT. A while back I've uploaded a video on how to clone your hard drive for free with a software that right now is being quite restrictive regarding cloning hard drives, and most people aren't being able to perform this operation. I've listened to you and today I'm bringing you an updated video on that subject using another software called HD Clone X. The software is totally free and I'll leave links to it in the video description. Just please remember that this is a fair use software, meaning that it is intended for temporary use or for the occasional use such as at home. For a more professional use, please consider buying the full version of the software. Remember, this video is a clone of the first one, just with the software parts updated, and I have also added a new section on how to resize hard drive partitions with a third-party partition management tool called Gparted. So, as I've mentioned in the beginning of the video, to download the cloning software, follow the link on screen or the ones in the video description. Once you have the software installed, open it up and the user interface is quite simple and self-explanatory. Besides cloning the hard drive, the software allows you to perform several other operations, such as backup and create images of your hard drive, even though it seems to me that these two features are redundant, as the backup feature also creates an image of the disk. Included with the software is also a file manager, a disk speed test software, and it even allows you to create a bootable USB that will boot directly into HD Clone X. You will need something like this and your new SSD. This is a docking station for hard drives. You plug the hard drive into the docking station, the USB cable to your computer, and your new drive will show up as another drive on your system. In this one I can plug both 2.5 and 3.5 inch hard drives. Another option would be a drive enclosure. There is a myriad of them and they are quite affordable. Yet another affordable option would be a SATA to USB cable adapter. And of course, you should not forget the SSD. I'm using this relatively old Samsung, but it will remarkably boost the performance of the computer. So, why choose SSD over HDD? Well, basically, an SSD is flash storage with no moving parts, while an HDD is magnetic storage with mechanical parts inside. This means SSDs have faster reading and writing speeds. I will measure some times and some read and write speeds in a while. Better performance and reliability, and for that reason they last longer, and they also use less energy and make less noise. This means that a computer with an SSD will have an overall performance boost. So let's measure some times on the mechanical drive. I will start by measuring how long the laptop takes to reboot. So, to clone hard drives with HD Clone X, from the main screen we choose Disk under the cloning section. Well, it's the only option available. And with this software, to clone from a smaller drive to a larger drive, there is no issue. You just select the source drive, the destination drive, you'd press Start and you'd be ready to go. Once it finishes, you just have to swap the old hard drive for the new one and the computer should boot directly into Windows. But if you are going from a larger hard drive to a smaller hard drive, which is not that uncommon at all, especially if you are going from a mechanical drive to an SSD, which is my case here, unfortunately the software doesn't allow you to resize the partitions to fit. Although you have this drop down here, the slider just won't move. And if you select one of the options to adjust the partition size, nothing happens. If anyone knows how to, or if anyone manages to resize the partitions within the tool, please let me know in the comment section. So, resizing partitions is something that you have to do manually, and I am going to explain that for you. Of course, before cloning, you have to make sure that the space used on the larger hard drive does not exceed the size of the newer, smaller hard drive. So, let's proceed to resize the partition on the larger hard drive. To resize a partition, you have two options. One is to use a third-party software such as Gparted, or to use Windows Disk Management. I'm going with the latter here, but if you have issues resizing with Windows, I am also going to explain how to resize with Gparted. To resize with Windows Disk Management, you right-click on the Windows Start button and choose Disk Management. Once you have Disk Management opened, right-click on the partition that you want to shrink and select Shrink Volume. If this option is not available, it's because Windows can't handle the way your partitions are laid out on the disk. So jump on the time frame shown on screen to use Gparted. All others, let's proceed with Windows. So here Windows is asking me the amount in megabytes that I want to shrink the partition. In my case, I want it to fit in a 120 GB hard drive. So what I'm going to do is to check how much space my current disk is using. And right now, my current hard drive is using 42.3 GB. Since the destination hard drive, the SSD, is 120 GB, if I shrink the partition to 80 GB, it will fit for sure in my 120 GB SSD. Now, to calculate how many megabytes I need to shrink, let's pull out the calculator and calculate how many megabytes are 80 GB. For that, I multiply 1024, which is 1 megabyte, for 80, which are 81,920 megabytes. I will now do 81,920 minus the total space used by my current hard drive, and that is the total amount to shrink the partition. So, let's do it. As you can see, the total size after shrinking is 81,920 megabytes, which is what we were aiming for. The only thing left to do is to click on Shrink. Okay, once done and going back to HD Clone X, if I choose again my HDD as source and my SSD as target, we can see that we can now clone the drive, and HD Clone X even resizes the partition to fit the disk. Now, looking at the advanced options here, if you'd like to keep the source hard drive in the computer, as storage for example, I'd advise you to keep Change Disk Signature option on. But if you are swapping them, then I'd advise you to uncheck that option so that the disk signature is copied. In my case, I'm going to uncheck it. To start cloning, we press Start and we get some warning here about the disk signature, that if both disks are connected at the same time, Windows might not boot properly. which is logical because the disk signature is being copied across hard drives. Warning acknowledged, let's proceed. Bear in mind that this is a lengthy process and it will take its time. The application even warns you about it, and being the free edition, it will take even longer. For this part, you will need a pen drive in which Gparted will fit. I'm using a 16 GB pen drive, but I believe a smaller one such as a 1 GB or 2 GB pen drive should be more than enough. To download Gparted, head on to gparted.org/download.php, scroll a bit down and get the latest version of Gparted live. I would advise you to get the i686 version as it works on both 32 and 64 bits computers. Once you have Gparted downloaded, download Rufus from rufus.ie. I'm going to download the portable version as it requires no installation, and with both files downloaded and the USB plugged into the computer, run Rufus from the location where you've downloaded it to. Rufus should detect the USB stick automatically, but if you have more than one USB stick plugged into your computer, make sure you choose the correct one, as this process will erase all data on the drive. So, choose wisely. With the correct USB stick selected, let's click on the select button to browse for the image to burn onto the USB stick, which is the Gparted image that we've just downloaded. Rufus will set up all the other options for you automatically, and you just need to click on the Start button. If you are presented with some warning message, read it carefully, and if you are okay with it, click Yes to proceed. Once you have the image burned onto the USB, let's boot up the computer with it. Once Gparted boots, and if you have disconnected the second hard drive, leaving only the hard drive where you want to resize the partitions, Gparted will automatically select the hard drive for you. Looking at the Gparted window, it is easy to identify which partition it's needed to resize. Logically, it is the third partition of the first disk, which is named SDA3, which now has a size of 931 GB. To resize, I'm going to right-click on the partition and choose Resize Move. So, as seen previously, and in my case, to fit a 120 GB hard drive, I wanted to resize the partition to 80 GB, which are 81,920 MB. So, in the new size field, I'll type 81,920. The free space following I'll leave as suggested by Gparted, and I'll click on Resize Move. Gparted doesn't immediately apply the operation in case we want to perform some more operations on the disk, and to start all operations we need to click on the green check mark on the top of the window. Gparted will ask you if you are sure you want to apply all the pending operations, and as I am, I'll click Apply. So now we just need to wait for Gparted to finish its job. Once finished, click Close, and the machine can be rebooted with the changes applied to the disk. Back in Windows, if we go to Disk Management, we'll see that the partition is properly resized and we are ready to clone the disk. If you are working on a laptop and if you'd like to reuse the old drive as additional storage, you can get one of these caddies that go where the CD-ROM drive usually goes. So we have now the SSD installed. Let's start the benchmarks again with the reboot. So here we are with the final analysis and conclusion. From looking at the chart, it can be clearly seen how the laptop benefited from swapping the mechanical drive for the SSD, with all operations running in average 3.5 times faster. But the most interesting are the disk benchmarks. While in the sequential read and write operations the SSD is in average 5 times faster than the HDD, in the random read and write small files operations the SSD is in average 209 times faster than the HDD. This is a very important figure to have in account, as operating systems are comprised of small files, and that's why using an SSD as the system disk greatly improves the performance of the operating system, thus of the computer. So, in conclusion, if you still don't have an SSD, I would strongly advise you to get one. And to clone your old hard drive to the SSD, well, you just have to follow the instructions in this video. I hope you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon.